It finally happened. TLC didn't just cut ties. They slammed the door, locked it from the inside, and threw away the key. After years of fights, feuds, and ego-driven chaos, Andre and Elizabeth have been permanently banned from 90 Day Fiancé. No more spin-offs, no more reunions, no friendly cameos in the background. They've been scrubbed from the franchise like they were never supposed to exist. This has never happened so decisively with any 90-day couple at their level. We've seen cast get suspended, quietly removed, or edited out after scandal. But this was sudden, absolute, and final. TLC didn't issue a warm goodbye post. They didn't tease closure next season. They hit delete. Hey everyone, I'm Oliva. And this is TLC Drama Files. If you've ever screamed at your screen watching Andre belittle Libby's family, or rolled your eyes when Elizabeth defended the indefensible, buckle up. Today, we dig into what really caused their fall from reality TV royalty. Subscribe if you're done tolerating toxic tension disguised as entertainment, and let me know in the comments. Did TLC go too far, or not far enough? Let's rewind. At first, Andre and Elizabeth were textbook casting. Foreign guy, feisty American woman, overprotective family, classic 90-day dynamics. Fans expected fireworks, not a wildfire. But it didn't take long before something shifted. Conflict stops being entertaining when it's uncomfortable to watch. Audiences didn't just dislike this couple, they felt drained by them. And still, the franchise doubled down. Season after season, TLC handed them more airtime, more chaos, and even the family's own spin-off. Remember that? The podcast storyline that somehow made everyone yell more and communicate less? It was messy. It made for memorable television, but something behind the cameras was breaking down, and viewers weren't supposed to notice. But come on, you felt it, didn't you? That energy that went from dramatic to disturbing, from juicy to exhausting. Fans started questioning why this couple still had a platform at all. So why now? Why ban them completely, and why so suddenly? Because what was happening off camera was even more toxic than what made it on air. On screen, Andre was loud, controlling, and confrontational. But off screen, he was worse. Producers didn't just deal with attitude. They allegedly dealt with threats, shutdowns, and legal headaches that made him a walking HR liability. He wasn't playing a villain for ratings. According to insiders, what you saw was the filtered version. The raw footage? Unusable, too volatile, too real. Crew members reportedly requested to be removed from shoots involving the couple, something that almost never happens unless safety is at risk. At least 2 sources claimed production meetings included plans for backup security when Andre was on set. At that point, this wasn't about storylines or spin-offs. It was about containing the damage. Andre's behavior followed a pattern. Aggressive when challenged, dismissive toward any authority that wasn't his own, and laser-focused on painting himself as the alpha at all costs. From shouting matches with Libby's siblings to demanding her dad hand over a family business to him like he earned it. Not suggested, demanded. Every slight became a war. Every disagreement, a power play. His sense of control extended beyond the family drama. Allegedly, he tried flexing that same ego in production meetings, demanding to see edits, accusing producers of turning people against him. One anonymous crew member said it best. He thought the show needed him more than he needed the show. And then there's Elizabeth. To the outside world, her role looked harder to read. Smiling in confessionals, teary in Instagram reels, posting filtered photos with captions like, "Focusing on family first." But pull back the curtain, and insiders tell a different story. Behind the scenes, she wasn't the peacemaker. She allegedly enabled every spike of drama and manipulated the team to protect her husband's image. According to multiple production sources, she backed Andre privately, even when he made threats against crew. One leak described how Elizabeth allegedly pressured producers to re-edit conflict scenes that were unfair to Andre. Several NDA breaches were also reportedly traced back to her sharing confidential shoot details with family and friends, then acting surprised when those same spoilers hit Reddit. And here's what made it impossible to manage. On set, Elizabeth allegedly shifted between being the innocent middlewoman and the behind-the-scenes persuader. Producers feared confronting her because she would threaten to quit. She knew where the show was most vulnerable, the family storyline. And she used that leverage. So if TLC knew this couple was causing chaos from the inside out, why didn't they pull the plug sooner? Because for a while, the drama was turning into dollars. In reality TV, there's one cold truth. Conflict sells, until viewers stop buying it. And for a few years, Andre and Elizabeth were doing exactly what TLC thought audiences wanted: screaming at family dinners, stirring the pot in every episode, starting fights that hijacked entire seasons. They had become professional chaos curators, and for a while, it worked. Ratings climbed. Social media flared up every Sunday night. Reddit threads lit up with breakdowns of who started what and who looked worse. Even the hate watchers showed up. People stuck around because they needed to see the next explosion. And TLC, they took that engagement and milked it. More camera time, more spin-off deals. More exposure, but drama doesn't age well, especially when it doesn't evolve. At some point, the yelling stopped being entertaining and started feeling like emotional whiplash. Fans began noticing the formula. Andre bullies, Libby nods, everyone else reacts. Repeat? Instead of a reality couple, they became a loop. A loop stuck on loud. The viewer shift wasn't dramatic at first. It started with fast-forwarding. Fans skipped the family arguments. TLC promo clips started getting flooded with comments like, "Ugh, not these two again," or "Can someone please mute Andre?" Threads stopped asking what would happen next and started begging for replacements. Then came the tipping point, a fan revolt disguised as disengagement. People didn't just complain, they left. Ratings dipped, engagement dropped, and for a franchise built around consistency, this was a red flag waving high. Hate watchers weren't even watching anymore. Leaks began spreading. Former crew members, anonymous insiders, even a few extras, everyone seemed to have a story about filming with Andre. Social media wasn't spinning him as a misunderstood alpha anymore. He was being labeled a threat to cast and crew, and once fan perception shifts from entertaining villain to why are they still on my screen, networks pay attention, entire group scenes had to be restructured because cast members allegedly refused to film with them without security nearby. One insider even claimed some crew had standing instructions to limit interaction, avoid confrontation, and escalate issues straight to legal. That's not a working set. That's crisis management. Fans didn't know all of this directly, but they felt the awkward energy. And when the audience begins turning off entire episodes just to skip one couple's segment, the threat stops being emotional. It becomes financial, and then came the backyard brawl. The moment that pushed even TLC execs into damage control. It started like every other 90-day family meetup, staged outside, drinks flowing, tension brewing. But within minutes, the infamous backyard brawl with Charlie exploded, and everything changed. This wasn't one of those yell across the patio, cut to commercial type moments. This turned physical, fast. The kind of chaos you can't fake. And the kind of Risk Network's panic over viewers saw the edited version. A few angry shoves, some yelling, abrupt cuts. What they didn't see was what insiders later described as a complete breakdown of control. Allegedly, glass was knocked over, crew tried de-escalating, and security had to physically step between Andre and Charlie. One source claimed a cameraman nearly got hit trying to separate them. That wasn't drama. That was a workplace hazard. For TLC, that night turned into a full-blown internal emergency. The footage was volatile, but not in the way that spiked ratings. It was a potential lawsuit waiting to happen. Legal teams were reportedly pulled in the same week. Questions flew. Did we provide a safe set? Did anyone file a report? Is this covered in our cast liability contracts? The network had played with fire for years, but this was the first time they felt the flame on their fingers. Behind closed doors, producers met with legal, HR, and even insurance reps. Crew was instructed to observe strict boundaries with certain cast members. Security presence was quietly increased on upcoming shoots. TLC couldn't afford another scene to spiral that far out of control. Andre, of course, didn't take responsibility. Insiders claim he blamed production for setting him up, that they purposely provoked him with edits, that they encouraged the fight, then punished him after. No reflection, no apology, just pure deflection. What made it worse? Libby didn't just defend him. She reportedly backed him so hard, she started making her own demands. According to 2 crew sources, Elizabeth began pressuring producers to make Andre look like the victim in post-production. She insisted her family had ganged up on them. When pushed back, she allegedly threatened to walk off filming entirely if the edits weren't balanced. It wasn't just one toxic personality anymore. It was a tag team. 2 people using the franchise as both platform and shield, refusing accountability while demanding control. TLC had spent years tolerating tension for the sake of ratings, but this was the moment it stopped being worth it. because this wasn't reality TV conflict anymore. This was HR's worst-case scenario. Most fans thought it was another scripted scare tactic. Andre's immigration battle? Classic franchise move. Dangle the threat of deportation, drum up suspense, cut to commercial. It's been done before. But this time, the line between storyline and real federal scrutiny got weirdly thin. Too thin. And behind the scenes, it set off alarm bells that had nothing to do with ratings. At first, producers leaned into it. A few tense scenes about paperwork, some vague voiceovers about his past in Moldova, carefully worded exchanges filmed to spark comment sections. On camera, it looked like any other low-stakes subplot. But off-camera, the government was reportedly watching too. According to multiple production-connected sources, once TLC aired specific references to Andre's time in law enforcement overseas, details he allegedly had not fully disclosed in earlier visa interviews, things got complicated. Not just risky from a PR perspective. We're talking federal interest. That's when things shifted from scripted drama to legal exposure. TLC's legal department, aware of what was potentially unfolding, allegedly ran a confidential internal probe. Background checks were repulled. Every form, contract, and clearance tied to Andre's filming history was re-reviewed. Why? Because if immigration officials had flagged something real while the show was framing it as entertainment, the network could be seen as misleading the public, or worse, obstructing valid investigations. Inside sources claim what they found didn't just raise eyebrows. It terrified execs. There were reported discrepancies, missing documentation, unanswered questions about employment history. There were also whispers, never confirmed, but too loud to ignore, that Andre's position in Moldova might have come with strings TLC didn't want to untangle publicly. The idea that the immigration drama could go from TV plotline to government inquiry felt like touching a live wire. The network's strategy changed overnight. Scripts got tighter. Edit approvals became higher level. Legal stepped in, not just to protect image, but to prevent making any statements that might be used in court. Andre wasn't just a problematic cast member anymore. He was a walking legal risk. With NDAs already violated, crew complaints stacked up, arguments still flaring on set, this was the last thing TLC needed. He brought storyline, yes, but now he brought potential subpoenas. Now TLC wasn't just editing for TV, they were editing for lawyers. Behind the scenes, things had stopped functioning like a reality show and started feeling like a workplace under siege. On paper, Andre and Elizabeth were still under contract. But inside TLC's offices, they were already being treated like an active problem. Not talent, not even liabilities, threats. By now, the list of internal complaints had ballooned. Producers had allegedly logged dozens of incidents involving Andre, from yelling at camera operators to shoving equipment to refusing to film unless conditions were changed to his liking. Crew members didn't just grumble. They formally requested to be taken off any shoots involving him. These weren't minor diva moments. These were HR-reported events, backed by first-hand witness statements. One report, according to an insider, described a day when Andre allegedly insulted a field producer so brutally during confessionals that filming had to be paused. Another alleged he accused staffers of conspiring against him, saying things like, "You'll lose your job if you mess with me." The mood around him got so bad, temporary crew reportedly started asking, "Is this guy legit safe to be around?" Producers met with legal called in outside advisors. Background checks were re-reviewed. Fan data was analyzed in real time. Ratings versus complaint volume. Viewer sentiment graphs. Internal risk management spreadsheets. It all pointed in the same direction. The longer they stayed, the worse it got. The result? A network-wide decision, quiet but final. Pull the plug. Cut them loose. Ban them for life. There was no grand announcement. No email blast. No press release. Just silent removal, TLC began erasing them like a digital crime scene. Future storyboards were revised. Marketing assets were stripped. Scheduled features on upcoming tell-alls were scrapped. Their images were reportedly blacklisted from promotional materials. Inside franchise planning documents, someone physically crossed out their names. Not suspended. Not paused. Gone. Crew was instructed to lock down past footage. Editors were told to cut around them for already filmed scenes. By the time the call was official, TLC had already started ghosting the couple from their own show, and when the couple found out, you won't believe how they reacted. The moment Andre and Elizabeth found out they were being removed for good, the drama leapt from screen to real life. And it wasn't just messy. It was explosive. Insiders say the email wasn't even out for a full 24 hours before Andre allegedly showed up uninvited at a restricted production office, shouting for answers. Multiple sources described him as agitated, loud, pacing through hallways without clearance, demanding meetings he had no right to request. Staff was blindsided. Some didn't even know the ban had been finalized yet. Now Andre was in the building, and he was furious. Allegedly, he cornered a junior producer and accused them of stabbing his family in the back. He claimed TLC had built careers off his name, that they owed him more episodes, more airtime, and yes, even more money. One crew member reportedly overheard him yelling that if the network didn't stop this disrespect, he'd launch his own show and destroy their reputation. Security was called within minutes, not to escort a cast member between takes, but to get him off the property. Elizabeth didn't show up that day, but within hours, emails were already going around. She was allegedly threatening legal action, claiming defamation, breach of trust, and damage to image. Not through an attorney. Not with a formal statement. Just cryptic, unfiltered, emotional bursts fired off to producers she had previously called friends. Insiders say she blasted TLC for ruining their lives and warned that everyone would regret this. There were no negotiations, no requests for resolution, just pure meltdown. No one tried to find middle ground. By that point, TLC wasn't offering a graceful exit. They were enforcing a hard stop. From the moment security walked Andre out, the company's tone changed completely. Executives gave the green light to shut it all down. No more edits. No final episode. No closure clips. Their storyline would stop mid-arc if needed. Whatever mess they left behind, TLC would figure out how to patch around it. Crew compliance letters went out next, reminding staff not to respond to messages from the couple. Legal prepped talking points in case either of them went public too aggressively. Total lockdown. No leniency, no spin. And especially no return. These two didn't just lose a job. They walked themselves into an industry-wide reputation collapse. Showbiz doesn't forget talent that turns volatile backstage. It's one thing to get written off a series. It's another to become a liability with a paper trail. Andre thought throwing one last tantrum would scare the network into keeping him. He thought he could muscle his way back in. Instead, that stunt backfired so hard, it might follow him for the rest of his public life. The moment word got out that Andre and Elizabeth were done for good, fans didn't just react, they celebrated. It was like a pressure valve finally released across Reddit, Twitter, and every 90-day meme account in existence. Within hours, the comments were brutal, hilarious, and weirdly unified. Good riddance trended in more than one thread. You'd think a villain had been defeated in a season finale. People weren't sad, confused, or curious. They were relieved. Memes started pouring in, Andre photoshopped into a do not return sign. Libby edited into fake audition posters for Wife Swap Toxic Edition. One viral tweet said, "Now I can finally watch 90 Day without needing antacids." Harsh? Maybe. Predictable? Totally. But what cut even deeper was this. Fans didn't miss them. Not even a little. Other cast members noticed the mood shift too. Quietly, passively, but noticeably. Little things changed. Background chatter on cast live streams. Subtle jabs on Instagram lives. One former couple even responded to a fan asking about Andre by saying, "Well, it's quieter on set now." Oof. Once they were gone, the show changed. Fights still happened, sure, but the tension felt more entertaining, less exhausting. The pacing improved. New cast didn't feel like they were walking on eggshells. Scenes had space to breathe. Viewers stopped skipping entire segments. And slowly, the show started to glow again. Fan engagement rebounded. Ratings ticked up. The vibes finally felt fresh. Some producers even reportedly joked internally that cutting Andre and Elizabeth was like getting a toxic ex out of a group chat. Everything just ran smoother. For TLC, removing them wasn't just a risk. It was a reset. But for Andre and Elizabeth, that silence meant something else. They weren't being hated anymore. They were being forgotten. And for egos built on attention, that's worse than being dragged. But the couple won't let it go. And what they're planning next is even more desperate. After the ban, silence should have been the end. But with Andre and Elizabeth, silence means something else. It means they're scheming. Trying to reposition, rebrand, stay relevant. But the more they claw, the less anyone's interested in holding on. First came the cryptic Instagram posts. Elizabeth started dropping emotional quotes about betrayal, outgrowing fake people, and choosing peace over drama. You know, the usual. Which, for someone who allegedly spent years fanning the flames, is quite the pivot. Fans weren't buying it? Comment sections turned cold, quick. One reply summed it up. You weren't canceled because you grew. You were canceled because you burned the set down. Then Andre went live. With a smirk on his face and the kind of energy usually reserved for conspiracy documentaries, he teased a major comeback, said he was developing his own project. Translation? Probably a podcast no one asked for, filmed with a ring light, marketed as uncensored truth. He claimed fans would finally hear his side. But here's the thing, most fans don't want his side. They want him off their screens. And they've moved on. Allegedly, Andre even pitched a show idea to a network that had loosely partnered with TLC in the past. The answer? A soft no thanks. Not because the idea didn't have shock value. It was because it had no longevity, no trust, no safety net. When executives think liability instead of loyalty, you're already done. Engagement on their content continued to drop. Once guaranteed to spark 1,000 hate comments and algorithm spikes, their posts started flopping. Fewer likes, fewer shares, fading relevance. And their last fans? Mostly quiet now. The ones who used to defend them turned neutral. Passion turned into apathy, because this wasn't the golden age of hate watch anymore. That era had passed. Andre and Elizabeth's downfall had evolved from entertainment into an industry lesson. A story studios pass around not as inspiration, but as warning. Ego doesn't grow a career. Entitlement doesn't extend a contract. And drama, unchecked, always has an expiration date. Their place on 90 Day is gone. Their storyline's over. No reunion, no redemption arc. But their silence isn't peace, it's plotting. The drama isn't over, it's mutating. In the end, this isn't the story Elizabeth and Andre wanted to tell. They imagined themselves as the anchors of the franchise. Untouchable, undeniably central, always one fight away from another contract renewal. They played up every conflict, escalated every scene, and leaned into every insult like it was a spotlight. In their heads, the chaos wasn't just content, it was power. But here's the irony. The more they tried to control their image, their storyline, their legacy, the faster they lost all of it. By thinking they were the show, they forgot something simple but brutal. The show doesn't need anyone. TLC has built an empire out of unpredictability. One cast member melts down, another storyline rises. The machine keeps churning. And while Andre and Elizabeth believed they were irreplaceable, the minute they became more risk than reward, they were erased. Quietly, efficiently, completely. No farewell season. No reunion closing montage, just gone. The edits stopped, the contracts closed, and everyone behind the scenes moved on before the audience even noticed. And that's what really stings, not hate, not drama. Indifference, because at their core, they didn't get fired for being difficult. They got fired for being impossible, for crossing the line from conflict into control, from star players into liabilities. TLC didn't destroy them. They burned their own bridge, lit with ego and soaked in entitlement. And yet, while they stew off screen crafting cryptic captions and spamming weak comebacks, TLC's over here filming fresh drama, new faces, and spin-offs that still break the internet every Sunday night. The franchise didn't flinch. It rolled forward like they were never even part of the plan. Millions tuned in, cast schedules stayed booked, and the show's momentum? Untouched. That's the aftermath. Not scandal, not headlines, just replacement. A quiet reality that hits harder than any on-screen roast they ever dished out. But what if I told you the next couple TLC's watching isn't far behind?